How was I to know that love would be my own undoing? Love for my town. Love for its people. Love for its safety. Love for a woman. Love for her. I had never been the most conventional of people. I was an adventurer by heart, desiring nothing but to take on the next greatest challenge while ensuring the safety of my poor provincial town with its many citizens too oblivious to know the obvious threats of the surrounding French countryside, including wolves and beasts of all shapes and sizes. But I kept them safe, and what they didn't know couldn't hurt them as long as I was on watch. I guess that's why they all loved me. It was by my trigger that game was provided for the butchers, who then produced enough food to feed our entire little town, which had been suffering drastically ever since the king and queen had disappeared mysteriously 10 years ago. It was to me that people came when they needed advice, me to whom people came whenever they were in need of a favor. Dreamy, mighty, egotistical. These are the things that the people of the town called me on a daily basis. I wasn't sure what the last one meant exactly, but given my many positive attributes, which is to say all of them, it must have been a very high compliment. However, my entire viewpoint on life began to change on the day I first caught a glimpse of her. Now, don't get me wrong, I was no stranger to women. They practically threw themselves at me on a day-to-day basis. But something about her was different. She was beautiful, yes, the most beautiful girl I had ever seen. But she was also keen, intelligent, and somewhat reserved. She stood out amongst the other women who, as I said, simply threw themselves at me. For somebody who loved a challenge, I found her reserved nature strangely attractive, something I could take pride in wooing. And after seeing the way in which she tenderly cared for her elderly fading father, I was taken. I wanted to grow old with this woman. All those other women had thrown themselves at me, yes, but I had never been very keen of such trivial matters. With her, I saw the potential of a grand future, where I could settle down and, at last, be happy. The greatest adventure of all. Resultantly, I made a few blunders. Don't all men do this when we are faced with love? Like a young schoolboy, I found myself acting a bit cocky and cynical in those times I found myself around her, trying so hard to impress her that I'm afraid I came off as a bit of a jerk. Started with good intentions, believe me, but oh how good intentions fail you when you are as smitten as was I. One particular instance comes to mind. I had just finished hunting with my best friend, when I caught a glimpse of her walking down the road reading one of her books, and I knew that it was time to make my move. After discussing this with my friend for a moment, I stepped in, planted my fists on my hips, and said in the most confident voice I could muster, "Hello." She looked up from her book. "Bonjour," she smiled. I walked around her and teasingly plucked the book from her hands, flashing her the smile that I had been told could make women melt. But she was no ordinary woman. "May I have my book, please?" she asked. I laughed, feigning interest as I flipped through its pages. Reading had never been my forte. "How can you read this? There's no pictures." "Well, some people use their imaginations," she said. I smiled again. "It's about time you got your head out of those books and paid attention to more important things. Like me." The moment her book left my hand and landed in the mud, I knew I had perhaps taken things a bit too far, but I couldn't back down now. If there's one thing I knew, it's that women like a man who exudes confidence. "The whole town's talking about it," I said jokingly as she picked up her book. "It's not right for a woman to read. Soon she starts getting ideas and thinking," making a joke as I winked, but she didn't see it. "You are positively primeval," she said. I took that to mean that I was doing things perfectly, as if straight from a history textbook. "Why, thank you. What do you say you and me take a walk over to the tavern and take a look at my trophies? Maybe some other time." She pulled away. "I have to get home to help my father. Goodbye." My heart ached at her dismissal, but my friend came in to liven me up. "That crazy old loon. He needs all the help he can get." We chuckled together. "Don't talk about my father that way," she said sternly. I immediately stopped laughing, then turned and conked him on the head. "Yeah, don't talk about her father that way." I hadn't realized how sensitive the subject was to her. Just as she continued to defend her father's sanity, an explosion went off from their house, where her father was most likely performing another one of his famed masterpieces. She turned and ran to her father's rescue, leaving my friend and I to laugh at the irony of the situation. Still, I knew that the conversation could have gone far, far better.